What is up, guys? Stark here. I am back for day 24 of the 24 Days of Fate, and in today's video I am going to be doing another character spotlight, and this one is going to be for the Prince of Lanling. So Lanling is a 4-star saber who comes out in the Lost Belt 3 Part 1 batch. He's not a limited time servant or story lock, so you guys can get spooked by him pretty much anytime. And overall, I do think he is a really good character. I think he is probably the best 4-star character in the Lost Belt 3 batches. Yeah, I think so. We'll just go with that. We'll see. We'll see at the end of all the character spotlights if he's actually the best. But I do think he's a really good character. His stats at level 80 are going to be 12,625 HP, 9,112 attack. This will rank him 81st overall in HP, 124th overall in attack. His star absorption is 98, star generation is 10.2%. His noble phantasm generation on his attacks is going to be 0.65, and on defense it's going to be 3%. So Lanling functions pretty much as a support character who can still do some pretty good amount of damage, just because most of his support skills function as AoE support skills. So he can definitely benefit from his own buffs, and he can do a pretty good amount of damage overall in his own right. And his first skill is going to apply invincibility to himself 2 times over the course of 3 turns, and this will also increase the attack of all of your allies for 3 turns. So this is basically a charisma skill with a built-in defense mechanism, which is really nice. You get a 20% increase at level 10 on a 6-turn charge time, and you're also going to get those 2 hits of invincibility, which is going to be really helpful. Now it is only 2 times over the course of 3 turns, so you could get unlucky and hit both those attacks on the first turn, and then you're vulnerable for the 2 turns, and you do have a 5-turn wait in between that. But you could also get really lucky, and you can space out those 2 times over the course of those 3 turns. Maybe take 1 attack the first turn, 1 attack the 3rd turn, and you're good to go. And hopefully one of those attacks is a Noble Phantasm dodge. His second skill is going to increase the Noble Phantasm gauge of one of your allies, and this will also increase that ally's buff success rate for 1 turn. So this is really nice. Is another option instead of just having to always go with Ozzy for the buff success rate buff, which definitely counters one of the biggest flaws that I hate the most about skills in Fate, the percentage-based chances of things to work. So this will get rid of that. It's a 40% increase at level 10, so most skills will be able to hit 100% with the addition of this buff. And you also do get a 20% increase to that ally's gauge as well, so that'll combo really well with a lot of different craft essences. And then finally, his third skill is going to increase his arts card effectiveness for all of your allies for 3 turns. This also has a 60% chance to increase critical star drop rate for all allies, as well as a 60% chance to increase critical strength for all of your allies for 3 turns. So on paper, it would be one of those skills that I really hate because of the 60% chance of failing, or succeeding, 40% chance of failing. But you do have a second skill which will just wipe that out. So if you use your second skill first, then you can use your third skill, and you'll have a 100% chance to get those buffs to go off, which is really nice. You have a 50% increase to your drop rate and your strength for 3 turns, get a 20% increase to your arts card effectiveness on a 5-turn charge time. So yeah, that's a really good skill in my opinion, and it's an AoE buff, so your entire team is going to benefit from that. As for his passives, he has 2. The first one is Magic Resistant C, which will increase debuff resistance by 15%, and the second one is the Writing A, which will increase quick card effectiveness by 10%. So overall, I do think he has a really good kit of skills. Now, I do still take a point away because of his third skill having a percentage based. Yeah, I know that his second skill gets rid of that, but that means you're basically forced to use his second skill on himself in order to get his third skill to go off. So basically you're locking yourself down to that situation, and his third skill is AoE, but that basically reduces the second skill to being used on himself, unless you're going to sacrifice the third skill for the second skill on an ally or something like that, which in most cases you really don't want to do. So yeah, overall his skills, I'll still give him 4.5 stars though. He has a really good kit of skills, just that one minor flaw that I really don't like. For his command card deck and his Noble Phantasm and his command chains, his command card deck is going to be 1 quick, 2 arts, 2 buster, so he's got a really balanced deck there. However, his hit counts are pretty low. 3 on the quick, 3 on the arts, 2 on his buster. His extra attack is pretty good though with 5. And his Noble Phantasm doesn't have any hits because it's not going to do any damage. So overall, a pretty low hit count for his deck, but it is a balanced deck, so you can do a lot of different chains with that. And speaking of chains, for your damage chains, you're going to go Buster Arts, Buster Extra for your damage. For Noble Phantasm gain, you're going to have to take in an ally's arts card with his 2 arts cards for a 60% increase to his gauge. And then for critical stars, you're going to be able to go his arts quick extra for 19 critical stars. As for his Noble Phantasm, as I did say previously, it's not going to do any damage. What it will do though is it will decrease the Noble Phantasm charge of all of your enemies by 1. This will also decrease the critical rate of all of the enemies by 20% for 3 turns, and this will also apply incoming damage cut for all allies for 3 turns. You know, it's a pretty good skill. It has a little bit of a debuff and a buff mechanism built into it, and it's pretty nice. Reducing the charge of all of the enemies by 1 is really big. You know, be able to get a potential, you know, Noble Phantasm turn taken away. And you could also combo this in with other characters that can do similar things as well. So you can kind of just loop it so that it doesn't, your enemy doesn't do Noble Phantasms, which is always going to be really helpful. And then you do have that damage cut as well. So, you know, you're going to be able to reduce a little bit of damage, keep your team alive a little bit longer. And all in all, it's definitely not the best Noble Phantasm in the world, but it does its job. I feel like it does its job. You know, he functions more as a support character anyway, and that's a pretty good way to support your team. So all in all, for his damage capabilities, he doesn't really have the firepower to do some like insane damage. So, you know, he does lose a few points there, but he does function more as a support character anyway. But all in all, I do think I'm going to give him 3.5 stars for his damage. It's definitely not where this character excels at, but that's not what the character tries to do anyway. So, but he does have the ability to do some pretty solid damage. You know, he does have 2 skills that can increase his overall damage capabilities. But once again, that's not really what this character is built for. As far as critical ability goes, he does have some pretty good crit abilities with his 3rd skill, being able to increase the star drop rate and the critical strength for all of your allies. So that's going to be really nice, but overall, he does lack a reliable way of generating stars, and he's not going to really benefit from the stars himself. Now, yeah, he can benefit with, you know, his 3rd skill, but you don't really want him to get the stars. You want allies to get the stars so they can do the bulk of the damage. But all in all, you know, he does have 2 out of 3 criteria pretty well off, so I am going to give him 3.5 stars for his crit ability. For his Noble Phantasm, I am going to give him 4 stars. He has a pretty solid Noble Phantasm. You know, it does its job. It's not really a damaging Noble Phantasm since it doesn't do damage, and the buffs it gives are pretty nice. They're nothing like insane, but it does do some pretty good effects. Decreasing the enemy's Noble Phantasm gauge by 1 is going to be really nice, and it's an AoE one as well, so that's going to be really helpful. The damage cut is also very nice. So all in all, you know, it's nothing over the top, but it is a pretty good Noble Phantasm in my opinion. For his survivability, I'm going to give him 4.5 stars. He doesn't have the best HP in the game, you know, but he does, it's pretty solid overall. He does have the 1st skill for invincibility, and as I said, he does have his Noble Phantasm to reduce the Noble Phantasm of the enemy, which means they can't fire it off, which also means that they won't be killing your team with the Noble Phantasm. So, you know, that's going to definitely help characters survive a lot longer. He does also have that damage cut, which again will help your team stay alive a lot longer. So he could be pretty tricky to kill in the end. As far as support goes, I'm going to give him 5 stars in support, pretty much for the same reasons as I did with his survivability. He has his Noble Phantasm, which is really good for support. His 3rd skill is very good for support, especially on arts teams, and you know, with Castratoria coming out, that's going to be a big thing as well. But even before she comes out, that's still really good. Art card effectiveness, critical ability, all that's built into his 3rd skill, but you still have his 1st skill, which increases the attack of your entire team, and you do have your 2nd skill, which, while it is beneficial to using it on himself, it is beneficial to other characters as well if they need the buff success rate buff, or just the extra Noble Phantasm charge. And that will give his overall ranking a 4.2 out of 5. He excels at the things he's good at, and you know, the things that he doesn't try and be good at, he's really not that good at. But at the end of the day, he's a really solid character, and he's a very good support character in my opinion. Definitely a character that I'm going to try and get my hands on at some point in time. But as I said, he's not limited, so eventually he'll roll into my box at, one of the banners in the future. But yeah, guys, that's going to be it for this video. I hope you did enjoy it. And if you did, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, I do have the links below to my Twitter, Twitch, Patreon, and Discord. So feel free to check those out. And one big note here, day 25 of the 25 Days of Fate will be live on Twitch tomorrow if you're watching this recording live or when I post it. And that'll be for the Christmas giveaway. So if you haven't checked out those details yet, make sure you check out that video. I believe it's day 2 of the 25 Days of Fate. So check that out. Make sure you guys are in the stream. I will be streaming. I'll be starting the stream around 12 p.m. Eastern time. And the giveaway will happen around 1 p.m. Eastern time. So that gives people about an hour to get into the chat and try and stop by. You'll have to be in the chat when I do the giveaway. There'll be a code I'll be posting in the chat, so everyone will have to post that. And if you are a subscriber to my channel on Twitch, not a follower, if you're subscribing to me on Twitch, then you'll get a bonus entry into the contest. But that's all for now, guys. I hope you did enjoy the video, and I really hope I see you guys tomorrow in that stream. But if not, I will see you guys next time.
我が顔をそれほど望むか。ならば見せよう。呪われし顔を儚く散るまで歌い続けるために。